So in general, how should people train for calisthenics skills and strengths? And what's your general philosophy or method around training for calisthenics skills?
The terminology of calling an exercise like a skill, it reflects how people view training. Also, attempt. I am attempting planche, I am attempting handstand push-up. You know, you're lacking strength, possibly. There's no attempt about it. It will not happen if you will magically just fall into a plank with the legs in the air. You either have sufficient strength or you don't. So you should, you know, the base of your training should be devoted to building strength in the basic patterns and then building that pyramid up.
So what are some general strength principles that people can follow?
First of all, it should be specific with your training. Weightlifting is different from powerlifting, is different from calisthenics. So specificity is king, whether that's push-ups, handstands, and pull-ups, chin-ups, and so on. And once you have that, obviously you get better at what you do and what you do more of, and that is specificity. I think that people should gravitate towards overload. So usually seeking exercises that are hard, okay? Train for the difficult. There's a new phrase, train for the difficult. I think that what stands behind it is that it should not feel easy. And if it's hard, it's probably rewarding. Besides that, I would say third will be the stress management. So, you know, training hard, we talked about that, and then making sure that you are recovering. So you have some basic splits like, you know, 1 day on, 1 day off, full body type of stuff. It makes sense because you train and then you follow that up with 1 full rest day. And for most people, it works well. So you have to manage stress. If you will train, you know, every day, I'm talking about like fully stimulating workouts. Maybe it will work for beginners, but at a certain stage you have to promote recovery. So I would say those 3 things are the biggest principles. It's the specificity, then it's the overload, and then comes the stress management. Different people respond differently to training, so you have people who enjoy more of volume. They are volume freak. Usually volume freaks have a lot of muscle mass as well. They're slightly slower twitch, so they respond better to volume and they naturally gravitate towards volume for that reason. So they like pump work and maybe longer isometric holds or maybe sets of 10 tuck planche push-ups. That speaks to them. They get pumped, they get the arousal, and the high intensity guy, he gets the arousal from doing heavier stuff. So maybe ramping up and then building up to 1, 2, 3 heavy attempts, not spamming it too much, but ramping up and hitting that very high intense set. That's what gets him out of the bed. That's his arousal. So we have that general principles that we discussed about. You should play, there's good use in different isometric duration holds, and you should find like what you naturally gravitate towards, and that's where you really start becoming the more advanced or mature practitioner, as they call it, when you understand what works for you.
What's your philosophy on building muscle when you want to get stronger?
What you usually see is that if you take gymnasts, for example, if you study them, the strongest gymnasts are the most jacked amongst the different gymnasts. So you have different apparatuses. The most jacked gymnasts are always those that are on the rings, the strength-oriented gymnasts. And they are the, relatively to gymnasts, they are heavier, they have more muscle mass, and I believe that people still have that relative strength myth in their mind, like, I don't want to get muscle bound, I will get too heavy, I will become weak, it will be harder for me to lift my own body weight. But then again, your muscle mass, the muscle mass that you added by practicing the chin-ups, the push-ups, the dips, it is only there as a response to your training Therefore, it must be positive, otherwise it wouldn't have occurred. That's your body's way of responding to the stimulus. So it wants to, you want to pad yourself up towards your next event, your next competition, your next training session. I always think when I'm on the rings and doing hard stuff, I'm thinking about, I want like a shield. I want to be padded. I want to bring that and back and all. I want to be padded, shielded towards the wall. So to feel safe almost and bring as much muscle mass as I can to the table. So by practicing the movement, you will also build muscle, and building muscle is a positive mechanism. It's one of the primary actually mechanism of getting stronger. So you should promote building muscle. Maybe if you were to look the other way around and try to reverse engineer it too much, that's where the message gets misled. So I will get the bicep bigger so I can chin up more. But most people problems are you're not chinning up, you're not doing enough chin-ups. Maybe get, bigger by actually doing the main compound movements. So maybe reverse engineering doesn't work, and that's where people maybe make the mistake.
Yeah, well, what's your opinion on like writing stuff down in a journal? Like, how do you do it? What are your thoughts on that?
Most people, they don't do it because they don't have to. That's the fact. So if you're making progress, and when I started, I didn't objectively measure everything because it worked anyway. Okay, I was training quite sporadically, and I was able to make progress from 10 push-ups to 12 push-ups. So it's fine, you don't track it. It's sort of a minimalist approach, and I can respect that. You're not doing something that you value as unnecessary at this point in time. But there comes a point that in order to really answer the question of what do I need to change, what do I do different about my training to really aggravate the response from the body, you have to know what you're already doing. Okay, so it's like a game of ping pong. You have to answer the question. If you don't know what you're doing, how do you know what to change? You don't know where to begin. So there comes a point in a practitioner's level of advancement that he will have to be, or she, more dialed down with their training, having a routine, following a routine that is structured and knowing exactly what you are doing. And then it feeds itself. Okay, then you know how many sets and repetitions, how many chin-ups you did previous workout. So now you know the number that you want to exceed. Today I'm supposed to do 11 chin-ups. It's 1 rep more than the previous one. Then you have that boost of motivation because you have that competition within your head. And then it feeds itself. You're more prepared towards the workout, you perform, you improve, and then you log it down and it feeds itself. But most people, they don't do it because probably they don't have to. And maybe once you stop making progress, you might want to start logging your training to have some more answers.